Hello darlings, well I'm in a completely different part of the countryside and yet, I know what you're saying, it looks exactly the same. And it does. This is why you can get lost in this countryside, because everything looks exactly the same, especially in the summer when it's just all yellow. So today I want to talk about the Great Noticing. I don't know if you've seen it or heard it being talked about, the Great Noticing. I want to talk about it. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So what is the Great Noticing? Well, the Great Noticing, and this is what I heard, this is the expression that they use. It's kind of like the prelude to waking up, because people have to notice first. They have to notice and then they wake up. The issue that I've got with the Great Noticing is, and I'll tell you what it is in a moment, is that I hear it on everybody's lips. And I don't like that. I don't like it when I hear everybody talking about it. Because just like I was saying before with the flags, with the ice bucket challenge, it's like no, everybody's doing it, therefore I don't want to do it. Everybody's noticing it, I don't want to notice it. So what is the Great Noticing? That's all of the mainstream alternative media talking about. Well, this is the noticing that of who's behind all of the bad things that are happening. And well, not to put too fine a point on it, it's the Zionists. And a long time ago I saw the book The Protocols of Zion. And of course in there it lays out, basically it's like reading a documentary story about today and everything that they're going to do. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, so I'm aware that all focus now is being turned, and Candace Owens doing it, I like Candace, Tucker Carlson, I like Tucker as well. They're starting to turn people's attention toward the Zionists. But they're using these buzzwords, the Great Noticing, although Candace doesn't use that, lots and lots of other people are using it. And it makes me worried. That, hang on a minute, are we just being manipulated into something else? Is this another, mass manipulation? So I thought, well, let's ask the emissaries what their take is, although they don't get involved in this 3D realm, in those sort of levels. But I asked them anyway, and I said, I'm concerned about, everyone talking about this Great Noticing. Is this just another ice bucket challenge? And they said, what is absolutely clear is that when something takes off like this, when something becomes Nick Fuentes is also somebody who's doing this. They said when something takes off like this, then there's a hand manipulating it behind. There's a hand of manipulation behind it. They said, however, understand that in the days that we're in, I tripped there. In the days that we are in, there's more than one hand behind things. Yes, there's the hand of the baddies manipulating things and making people believe things that aren't the case, or believing things that make them scared. But they said also there could be the positive hand of manipulation behind it. They said, remember that there are baddies, but there are also goodies. We're in a battle. This is a battle between good and evil. So that means if it's a battle between good and evil, then there must be good as well. We're very aware that there's evil, but there must be good too. And so they said that perhaps, and it's not what they're saying, but perhaps behind the certain manipulations is good. Now lots of people have been talking about that. They call them the white hats or whatever. And lots of people believed in that and then lost faith, very much like me. Not so much lost faith, but thought, well, what they were going to do, what the white hats were going to do, was nobody's business. And then what happened? Fall. We still ended up in a horrible situation. However, I do believe that there's good. And I do believe that, we are in times where we're in the revelation. Things have to be revealed. And so if things have to be revealed to us, Who's going to do the revealing? Well, it's not the baddies, although the baddies do a bloody good job at revealing themselves. They can't help. I think they're so egotistical. They love themselves so much that they want people to know what they're doing, just because they feel so good about it. So they do a good job. But also, I think that we are being shown things, and it's just because it's part of the plan. It's the divine revelation that's happening. And so the great noticing is that another ice bucket challenge? I don't know. Just because the emissary said, well, maybe there's a positive hand behind it, doesn't mean that I'm going to fall into that trap. With everything now, and I don't know how you feel, I just watch and observe and wait and see. Because it's easy to wait and see now. Everything's happening so quickly, you don't have to wait for very long. It's not like, well, I'll wait for another 7 years. No. Generally, within a very short space of time, things level out. And I think we're going to see that with the great noticing. Because it's picking up speed. Boy, is it picking up speed. You know, now, all they talk about is the fact that 98% of Congress is in the pocket of the Zionists. You know, both sides. I mean, even, you know, Trump is linked dramatically, and he's been to Israel and he's put his little hat on and he's done a prayer at the Wailing Wall, just like everybody. And I heard somebody, one of the alternative media news readers, saying how much pressure she's had on her to go to Israel and to just, you know, to do the little visits and everything like that. So I think we're in a really interesting place. And as I mentioned, Nick Fuentes, I didn't even know who he was. I saw his name being bandied around. I thought, who is he? And then you watch him, a young lad, got full of fire, full of vigour, and he's very much, you know, opening things up to a conversation. But because you haven't been able to talk about it before, I mean, and still, I mean, they're working on putting laws everywhere, so you can't talk about it, which is interesting, isn't it? You know, the baddies have a certain style of protocol that they work on, which is, we're going to distract you and get you to look elsewhere as long as you don't look at us. They don't like being looked at. They hate, that's the whole point of being a deep state. That's the whole point of being in the background, so they don't get looked at, and we spend our time fighting amongst ourselves and looking at other people. That's what they've always wanted. That's what they've always had. And now suddenly, hang on a minute, now we're turning and looking at them, and they don't like it. By looking at the Zionists, are we looking at the baddies, the evil? I don't believe so. I believe that they're evil, but I don't believe that they are the quintessential evil in this world. Oh, I think it's much bigger than that, and I think it's much deeper than that. But I think it's a very, very fundamental part, and I think they're getting very uncomfortable with people looking at them. So let's see how that pans out. Let's see what happens. But I don't know if you're like me. Let's just watch, observe. We don't have to do anything. You know, lots of people are doing stuff. The people who've got to do stuff, do stuff. The people who've got to speak out, speak out. The people who have got to do that work, who've come down here to do that part of that work, they do it. So we don't have to, you know, suddenly jump on the bandwagon but I think it'd be very interesting to watch what happens. So I'd like you to know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think the Great Noticing is another ice bucket challenge, or do you think it's coming from the goodies rather than the baddies? Interesting. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Come on, good girl. Good girl. Here. Clever girl. There we are. Come on, Douglas, good boy. Last wee, always has to have a wee before he comes. He's got this bladder that is never ending. He never ever empties his bladder, never, because you never know when you need to have another wee, when you need to mark. Douglas comes, he's never in a hurry. He goes slower and slower. As he comes toward me, he gets slower and slower and slower and slower. It takes half an hour for him to come from that tree to here. Douglas, good boy, and I tell him he's a good boy, and then that speeds him up a little bit. Okay, there you are. Good job, Douglas. So home. Home time. This is Danae, and this is Douglas.